Well, listen to this. I am told that at some point in the 10 o'clock a.m. hour on September 10th, so to be clear, and this is crucial, over 2 hours before Charlie was shot, the Timpanogos hospital staff directed everyone who was in the emergency room into a different wing of the hospital. People were not sure what was going on. The staff was directed to move everyone in the emergency room to a different wing of the hospital.
With so many different stories about Charlie's tragic passing floating around, everything from how he got to the hospital to what actually happened inside, wouldn't you think Erika would want some real answers? She should be questioning who's actually looking out for her and who isn't. This whole week has been pure chaos, one bombshell after another dropping, and honestly, it just makes everything more confusing. The more information comes out, the murkier it gets. Candace Owens hit the internet with some serious claims last week that caught everyone's attention. Someone on X summed it up perfectly, saying, "Most of the time people hype up big revelations that turn out to be nothing, but this is legit." Candace just put out something that could shake things up. If it checks out, this becomes one of the biggest stories in years, and we're not exaggerating. According to Candace's sources, around 10 minutes, that's more than 2 hours before the shooting, everyone in the ER at Timpanogos Hospital got moved to a different section of the building. Then, at around 11:30 a.m.,
Then after some time, at approximately 11:30 a.m., patients were informed that they would be transferred aboard shuttles to Intermountain Hospital. That's Utah Valley Hospital. And that's what happened. All of the emergency room patients and all of their files were then transferred to Intermountain. So there's effectively no trail outside of hospital cameras, which have been conveniently seized by Kash Patel's office, of these patients ever having been at Timpanogos Hospital.
all the ER patients apparently vanished. The claim is that she was shuttled over to Utah Valley Intermountain Hospital instead. That would explain why there's basically zero footage of regular people inside that emergency room. How convenient is that, right? Three-letter agencies control the cameras in hospitals, so we can't actually see when Charlie showed up, what happened before, or what went down after. People have been pointing out that if investigators looked at hospital emails and texts between the bed control team or management, they could crack this wide open. Plus, no random person captured video inside that hospital, which is wild when you think about it. These days, everything gets filmed and posted online instantly. But this? Total silence. If that story's true, it's a massive red flag about what really went down. How does an entire hospital wing get cleared out right before Charlie arrives and before his passing? Frank Turek himself mentioned there was barely anyone there when they got to the hospital.
Got him into the hospital, and it seems like we went into an empty emergency room. There was nobody in there. "Don't you know we're coming? Where are you?" Within 2 minutes, they were on him.
And here's the thing, emergency rooms are supposed to be packed with patients, families, and staff everywhere. This emptiness just doesn't add up. Here's where it gets suspicious. He claims someone called ahead supposedly. Someone allegedly contacted the hospital or dialed 911 before they arrived. But if they really gave a heads up, why was nobody there to meet them when they pulled up? That's odd. I wanted to know what's supposed to happen at a hospital when they get advance notice about a serious patient coming in. ChatGPT broke down the standard procedure, and it's pretty clear what should have happened. When a hospital gets told ahead of time that a gunshot victim is being brought in by private vehicle and will arrive in 7 to 10 minutes just like Charlie, the whole place should mobilize. The trauma team activates, the trauma bay gets fully prepped, and medical staff positions themselves ready to go. The patient should roll straight into critical care with no wasted time. Hospital workers don't have to stand outside visibly, but that advance call means they're locked and loaded to receive the patient the second they arrive. When that ambulance pulls up to the emergency entrance, things should happen lightning fast. Emergency staff get the alert right away. The trauma team activates immediately if injuries look critical or life-threatening.
But we had all sort of wondered aloud, what exactly happened to their clothes then, right? Brian's, I cut Charlie, I took the shirt. What happened to the clothes? Well, I will say Frank Turek's name was not explicitly mentioned, but I did hear that The feds, the FBI, took the clothes from certain members of Charlie's security team down to their boxer briefs, took their clothes. Down to their boxer briefs, the FBI took their clothing. So how are we to digest that? Well, in a normal scenario, we would think, oh, great. They obviously did that in an effort to collect evidence. That's what they should be doing, bagging the clothing and sending it to be stored for further examination or in case it comes out. Maybe further testing, maybe it'll come up in throughout the course of the court cases.
A trauma bay gets fully set up with all the equipment and trained personnel standing by. Nurses, trauma specialists, security, they should all be positioned at that ambulance entrance ready to grab the patient the instant they show up. Makes sense, right? So why was absolutely nobody there when Brian Harple arrived with Charlie? Why did Brian have to hunt down a gurney himself, climb on top of Charlie, and start ripping his shirt open? Why wasn't a single medical person waiting there even though they called ahead? And what about that weird 2-minute gap before anyone showed up at all? Then Candace dropped another layer to this mystery just last night. She pointed out that Frank Turek wasn't explicitly called out by name, just like the security team stayed unnamed. That made me dig deeper into what actually went down. Frank Turek had plenty to say, especially about his own clothes. Reports say he dumped his clothes. Remember, he was inside the car with Charlie and was supposedly doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
But this is not a normal situation. These feds were not doing anything normal, right? We know this because we learned that the feds immediately had the car towed, sent away, wanted it cleaned and resold. They didn't take it and go, oh, let's keep this for evidence. They said, get rid of the car. So I don't think that they said, get rid of the car, but let's keep Brian Harpole's or Rick Cutler's boxers for evidence. In my mind, they likely took their clothes and had them destroyed. That's in my mind. I don't know that for certain. It's an unknowable thing unless you are Tyler Robinson's defense team and you can demand access to that sort of information, which I would if I was on Tyler Robinson's defense. Down to the boxers. The feds took it. You see, I'm a person who actually, just to be clear, so that I'm on record, I want the judge to come back in September and say that there is enough evidence to move the case forward, that the influencers were convincing. Me and Turning Point in that regard, we're kind of rooting for the same thing, but for different reasons. I personally just want to see how long they can keep this farce going.
He was there when Charlie's situation got serious, his last moment, but somehow the 3-letter agencies didn't grab his clothes. They snatched everyone else's bloody gear, but his just disappeared. That's definitely worth noting. I'm not calling it straight up suspicious, but it's strange. If they took everyone else's bloody garments as evidence, why skip him? Why would he throw away his clothes on purpose? Something doesn't fit. Now, when Candace brought up the hospital transfer thing, a lot of people pushed back hard. The comments came flooding in from skeptics. This is made up. Those hospitals run on totally different networks with separate billing. If this actually went down last September, you'd see patients everywhere complaining and demanding answers. Another person jumped in, I'm an ER nurse, and that would violate MTA straight up. The law says hospitals can't refuse treatment or move patients unless the other place has something we don't have. This tracks with what we learned from researching how hospitals actually handle these situations. So the real question becomes, can an emergency department just shuffle out existing patients to another hospital to make room for a high-profile case? That's where things get really interesting. If a trauma patient shows up suddenly, hospitals can technically activate emergency protocols.
Look, the three of us in the back seat, let me just say that we had to change our clothes, okay? Because we didn't want Erika seeing us, and so we were wearing hospital scrubs by the time she got there. I threw away my clothes.
They can put their emergency department on diversion, basically telling new patients to go elsewhere. They can transfer stable patients to other nearby places if it makes medical sense, delay non-urgent treatments, and even block off areas for security or investigations. This all fits within the hospital's emergency playbook. But here's the catch when it comes to Tepanogo's regional hospital on the day this tragedy happened. There's zero verified proof that any of these moves actually occurred. Candace mentioned claims from people saying ER patients got moved out, which supposedly explains why there weren't witnesses inside. But nobody, not the hospital officially, not law enforcement, not anyone reliable has confirmed these claims. Then I found something wild on X from a user called the LF Lounge from way back in February. The post asks, is this why he was sent to Tepanogos Regional? Apparently, at that same exact time, there was a bomb scare at Intermountain Health Utah Valley Regional, and get this, everyone involved had to sign NDAs. Big thanks to my sources who helped verify this info from September 11. Here's what went down.
Hey guys, okay, so I've done some reporting on Timpanogos Hospital in the last week, and I know Project Constitution and Mia Stretch over on X have also done some reporting on Timpanogos. One of the things I reported on was that the CEO, Zenger, only became the CEO in August. He moved from another Mountain Star hospital. Also, one of his family members used to be the chairman of the board of Utah Valley University. And I reported on Spencer Cox, who had been flagged in an almost $1 billion CARES Act scandal, a portion of which involved Mountain Star Timpanogos, along with Nomi Health and Qualtrics. In fact, one of the founders of Qualtrics is the new chairman of the board of UVU and also chaired the Charlie Kirk Memorial. But the question that keeps coming up is, why did they choose to go to Timpanogos as opposed to the Intermountain Utah Valley Regional Hospital? Well, I have heard from some very legitimate sources within the Utah Valley Regional Hospital ecosystem.
Naomi, our operations and security expert, dug up something seriously intriguing. There's this video out there of a certain person, though honestly, I'm not totally sure if it's been fact-checked or debunked yet. This is where it gets wild. I've heard from solid insiders at Utah Valley Regional Hospital that right before this incident, there was a massive security alert at Intermountain Hospital. We're talking full lockdown mode. What makes it even more mysterious is that staff apparently had to sign NDAs, which basically shut down anyone talking about it. These sources sound credible, but I can't 100% verify every detail. And trust me, I want the full truth. So if anyone's working at Intermountain Utah Valley Regional right now or knows someone who has stepped forward, talk publicly or message privately. Either way helps. It could crack this thing wide open. From what I hear, NDAs can be tricky, but real whistleblowing done the right way can still happen. Just as I'm putting this all together, Naomi reached out with an update. She messaged me saying she found someone on Facebook who said on September 22nd, there was an emergency scare at Intermountain Hospital right around the same time.
That just before Charlie Kirk's assassination, apparently there was a scare at the Intermountain Hospital. So they were on lockdown. I've also heard that they've had to sign NDAs so they can't talk about it. As I said, this is from legitimate sources, but I obviously can't confirm if this is 100% true, and I would love to do that. So if anyone out there works for Intermountain Utah Valley Regional Hospital or knows someone that works there, I really implore you to come forward either privately, publicly, whatever you want to do, and let me know if there was indeed a bomb scare. From what I've heard, they've signed NDAs, but I don't believe that NDAs prevent someone from legitimate whistleblowing. Actually, since I started recording this video, my friend Naomi messaged me and said that she found a guy on Facebook who on September 22nd said that there was a bomb scare at Intermountain Hospital at the same time as the Charlie Kirk. So I will contact him and see what he knows. What do you guys think? Comment below.
So naturally, I figured I should reach out to this person and see what they could tell me. What do you think about all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really interested in what you think. For regular people like us, it's crazy how massive an operation like this could be, and how much might be happening behind closed doors. But what really stands out as weird is what Brian said went down when they got to the hospital. Candace brought it back up just last night, and that's when I remembered something else. An ER nurse responded with some real frustration. ER nurse, hear this story is so ridiculous I was literally screaming at my screen. Someone else added, the image of someone just grabbing a gurney and pushing it into a random room, then everyone jumping on the guy, ripping his shirt off, shouting orders about meds, that's insulting. It's like they think we're all dumb. Another nurse threw in some real talk. Yeah, as a nurse, I've definitely seen. And the comment just trailed off, but you get what they meant. Getting drug orders from random people all at once sounds like pure chaos, right?
Utterly improbable ER scene that was depicted by Brian Harpole, where are the witnesses? Where are the witnesses, we wondered, to this middle-aged man jumping on a stretcher which he treated himself to. Treat yourself, take a stretcher on your own if you feel you're important enough. then took out some scissors, who knows where he got those from, maybe from his bag, jumped onto the gunshot wound victim, cut a Freedom t-shirt in half to prep for a defibrillator that nobody mentioned to you, while going back and forth with the surgical team about what drugs to give to Charlie. That clip can never be played enough, by the way. It's so far beyond ludicrous that we should take a listen to it again.
We get to the hospital. Actually, we make it to the hospital through the traffic. We've got full wound pack in. We get out and we carry in to the door. Once we make it into the door, we see a gurney on the left-hand side. We put him on a gurney, and then I wheel him into a room. I start giving the patient information to the staff there. I end up getting on top of him and cutting the shirt that he had on off, that white Freedom shirt. And so I cut it off so they could get to him so that...
Anyone who's spent time in emergency rooms knows that kind of confusion happens. But here's where it becomes impossible. I've read tons of comments from actual ER workers, and they basically all say nothing like this would ever happen where they work. The system's too tight, the protocol's too strict for that kind of mess to slide through. Last night's episode hit different. It dropped something that honestly made me need to step back for a second. It's about the wife of the medical examiner who approved the autopsy report. This is who she is. Someone who works in research related to human behavior and interpersonal dynamics. Now, I've looked into various communities and groups before, and this connection caught my attention. How is this even possible? How could someone with this background be tied to such a critical piece of the investigation? And here's what I can't stop thinking about. If that's his wife, what about the medical examiner himself? Do they share similar interests? Were they both connected to these kinds of circles? Did they know certain people involved? I have so many questions bouncing around, and honestly...
I didn't articulate this to them, but I wanted to get that stuff off so they could put a defibrillator on him. And so, and then started talking about pushing drugs. And so I was back and forth with them on drugs and defibrillator. And so then, once you get that shirt cut off and moved out of the way, there's enough of medical professionals in there. And so I just want to get out of their way. And so I got out of their way and walked out of the room and stood outside the room and held guard on the outside door of the room so nobody else could come in there.
Okay, so that's a man who fell asleep watching Dr. House rerun.
Part of me hesitates to dig too deep into the answers. Kelly Robin recently posted something that got my attention. What if the Utah medical examiner in this case is married to someone who researches human behavior and social dynamics as part of her professional work? That alone adds another layer to all of this and makes everything feel even more tangled. Here's what really stands out. This mysterious figure apparently has connections to certain communities, and since September 9th to 10th, not only did the medical examiner suddenly leave his job, along with about a dozen other people who vanished quietly, but he and his wife packed up and moved completely out of state. That's not something that happens every day. You'd think that would raise serious questions, right? But somehow, everything in this whole situation just clicks together like it was meant to. Nothing seems random. Everything has this weird, eerie flow to it. Does Erika even know about all of this? Doesn't any of it strike her as off or strange? She believes what happened that day. Sure, that's totally fair, but what about everything else happening in the background? Before, during, and after. What about all the people connected to this? Nothing feels suspicious to her at all. No warning signs, no gut feelings telling her something's off. Because for most people, there absolutely should be. So here's my question to you. Could both hospitals near UVU have been dealing with serious issues that same day, making everything way more complicated? Drop your theories and what you're thinking in the comments below. I really want to know what you think about this whole thing. If this video grabbed you, smash that like button and share it with someone who's into mysteries. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you catch every new video. Thanks for watching all the way through. See you on the next one.